Oh,
What is going hit live? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Please remember to like, comment, and share the information we're about to share with you today because it's really very interesting. It's a topic that I love, and I'm so going to enjoy it with our guest today. She's very special, a very extraordinary woman. Now, I'm Evelyn Cosme, a leadership strategist for your life and work, the CEO of Evelyn Cosme International, the creator of the Power of V, a method for the development and empowerment of high achieving women. I'm passionate about guiding and teaching women how to improve the quality of their lives through self mastery, leadership strategies with a focus to achieve life and work balance. And that's valuable for anyone in any stage of their life. Welcome to episode 20 of Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace, a podcast about compassionate and courageous leadership. And my intention is to honor, celebrate, and highlight the work of women in their industries. I also want to inspire other women into action and the next generation of leaders. Now, our topic today, like I said, is something I'm really interested in. Total radiant you. Feel as good as you look and look as good as you feel. My guest today is Marcia Daly, an image consultant and life coach. And what I love is the perspective that she brings to the whole image consulting industry. Hello, Marcia. Thank you so much for being here. Please greet our audience before I read your bio.
well, thank you for having me, Evelyn, and hello to everyone. It's such a privilege for me to be here with you today.
Thank you. And Marcia, and I'd like you to listen in. She is so highly qualified to do the work that she does. And it's a job that I'm sure she enjoys fully. Marcia is a member of the Association of Image Consultants International, AICI, and the current secretary of the Canadian chapter at that. She earned her certification as an image consultant from George Brown College in Toronto, Canada. Becoming an image consultant was a natural move for Marcia, as she has always been involved in fashion. She learned to sew at the tender age of 13, and she started making her own clothes and later on created a home-based business sewing garments for full-figured women. As a former Toastmaster, Marcia is dedicated to helping women use their voice in an authentic way to get their message across through public speaking, allowing them to become more articulate and confident in any setting. Marcia is also a certified life coach trained at the Canadian Coaches Federation. Her motivation for the Total Radiant You program comes from her belief that there is an interconnectedness between the way a person feels mentally and physically, as well as emotionally and spiritually, and how they move through the world. It will be difficult to show up as your best if you do not feel whole within. So she helps her clients clear their emotional blockages that keep them stuck. And that's a wonderful bio, Marcia. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I love for our audience to be able to get to know our special guests and their background so that they can, especially at a time of need, they know they can reach out because the guests that I have here on the program are highly qualified to do what they do. Now, Marcia, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was it that little Marcia played at? when she was young. And did it translate in any way to who you've become and the great work that you're doing with image consulting at this time?
I want to say yes, but it's really interesting you asked that question because when I was about 4 or 5 years old, having started kindergarten, I wanted to be a teacher. I was obsessed. I watched my teachers very closely, and I would imitate what they did in the classroom when I got home. So but I tell you, it took me probably 2.5 decades before I actually became a teacher.
Oh, really? And
Yes.
but you do training, or you have a really extensive history in training. Why don't you speak to that? Because I love the audience to understand how we can do different things and be passionate about other things, and at some point in our lives be able to do that thing that you love, that I know you love, the image consulting business that you have at this moment.
Yes. So I became a French and Spanish teacher.
Oh, wow.
Very well. It started off with small kids in primary school, and then it extended to high school students. And then I took up teaching English as well. And I did that for 5 years. And following that, that's where I slid into the world of training. Now, the training came from my background as a Toastmaster, because if you
Oh,
know
really?
anything about Toastmasters,
Yes,
it's
I
not
do. I'm familiar with it. But
right.
share, because a lot of people may not know what Toastmaster is.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's not just learning to present yourself in public, to be able
Hmm.
to deliver speeches, either telling a story, if it's a moving story or a humorous story, or talking about something that's factual. But there are other leadership skills that you gain as well. And one of the things that we did, now all of this was taking place before I came to Canada. So I'm originally from Guyana in South America.
Oh, wow.
And we would have outreach programs. So you had to learn how to create a whole workshop, how to deliver a seminar, how to invite people to come to your program. So all those skills were honed. And then to conduct the program, I had to learn organization, time management, and to be able to teach adults, because it's very different from teaching children, right?
Of course. Absolutely.
So all of those skills over time I gathered. So when I knew that I would be leaving my teaching position, I don't know what you call it, the universe showed up. There was an advertisement for a trainer. And I applied. When I saw that, and back in the day when you used to get newspapers delivered, when I opened the papers and I saw this ad, I couldn't breathe. And that's always a sign for me that I'm on something good.
Absolutely.
So I applied and I was accepted, and I held that job for 3 years. It was for a company that it has its roots in Jamaica. So I had the opportunity of traveling there back and forth over the 3 year period. And it was one of my richest jobs. Not necessarily only financially, but in terms of the connections that I made, the fact that I was able to do something that just makes my heart sing, the people that I had to work with, it was an absolute joy.
How wonderful. And the fact that you moved to Canada, talk to us a little bit, because that takes a lot of guts. Actually, it's an adventure.
Yes,
Even if you have friends where you're relocating to, even if you have some finances in place, and you've looked up where you're going to live, or your friends, you know, it's a big deal to move. And then on top of that, to start in a new career and all the changes you've been through, yet you were able to overcome anything that came at you to be able to do that. Share a little
absolutely.
bit, what was it that was going on in your life, or what were you thinking at that moment, Marcia, to even decide to do that?
So I always look at how the decade in my life is going. So when I had finished university and I was coming up to the beginning of the third decade of my life, I looked at what I was doing and I'm like, I think I need to do something better. And then coming up to the fourth decade of my life, I was pretty settled. I was pretty happy, but there's always that part of me that says, there's got to be something more.
Mhm.
And it was with the encouragement of friends that I started exploring how to come to Canada on my own, because I didn't have any family to sponsor me or anything. And there's a self-sponsorship program, at least there was. I haven't researched it since I got here,
Oh,
but it allows you to sponsor yourself to come here. So I took the challenge because I had reached that stage where it's like, what else am I to do? My parents were older. I made sure they were comfortable. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get my little sack, put it on my little stool, and I'm going to kick off and see what the world has to offer me, right? And that's what I did. So you know what? I came to this country never having visited it before.
Oh my goodness.
I had
Wow,
traveled to
that's daring, Marcia.
I
Talking
traveled,
about guts and grace. Wow.
I had traveled to the US. So I said in my mind, well, it's North America. There must be similarities. What's the worst that could happen? In fact, I've had a good experience, I must say, in terms of getting jobs. One of my school friends, and we hadn't seen each other, I think, for about at least 18 years.
Oh,
We
wow.
connected prior to me coming, and in a long drawn out way, but we got connected. And I sent him this email. I said, guess who's coming to Canada? He was very instrumental in helping me get my first job. And then things took off from there. And I was able to get a trainer position. I was just in the right place at the right time, and was
Absolutely.
caring enough to put in an application for a position, even though I hadn't been there for a long time.
And
And
thank God for networking, and having a network you can reach out to, and that speaks so much in leadership and in any aspect of life, having a network of people you can reach out to for anything, for questions, for relocating, for getting a job. That is key. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
and I
right
would
ahead.
say that my friend, he would call me every day, and he would say things like, make sure you dress properly for the weather. Because I came here in August, and then so I was experiencing my first winter.
Oh,
I
wow.
should say my first winter in North America, because I did
Mhm.
live in France and I did have a taste of winter, but trust me, it is nothing like a Canadian winter.
Oh, really?
No, no,
I
no.
I'm in Florida. I can't even imagine that. 60, under 60, 50 degrees for us. It's too cold,
You
too
had it.
cold, way too cold.
I've experienced -40 actually in the very first year. I experienced 2 or 3 -40 days, and I never experienced them again. The
Okay.
temperature hasn't gone below probably -25. And
Oh,
of course, it would feel a little colder if there's wind. But
yes.
I got adjusted. I got adjusted by the time the next winter came around. Because the first time I was like, I want the thickest boots and the longest coat and the thickest scarf. And then the next year, I'm like, I don't need this stuff anymore. So I bought a short jacket. It ended at my hip. It had the most beautiful hood ever. When I put that hood on, nobody could see my face inside. I kept that jacket for 9 years. It was
Oh,
such a warm
wow.
jacket. And
Ah,
then
and
it
it
got
protects you
20.
from the wind, the weather,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's wonderful.
I
So
had to put it down because it was starting to chill. And I knew if my
you
mother
put it
saw it,
down.
I think you could afford a better jacket. But I just loved it so much. But saying all that, my path, I would say, was one that kept going up. I didn't have a lot of trials and tribulations.
Oh, good.
And I wouldn't even say that I knew what the word networking was back then. To me, it was people I knew, and I would ask a question, like you say, or they would provide me with information. I remember one day my friend called and said, there's going to be freezing rain. You have to be careful when you're walking on the sidewalk. And I'm like, freezing? I had never heard of freezing rain. I thought all rain that came from heaven in Canada or came from the sky has to be freezing. It's cold. But there's a distinction, as I found out. Because when
Extreme
it gets
one, probably
slippery,
an
it gets,
extreme distinction.
oh yeah, it gets very slippery. So if you don't have boots with a proper grip, you could be sliding everywhere, which I
Oh,
experienced. And then I understood, okay, this is totally different from anything I was thinking of. But, eventually I got to embrace the weather. And I found that the weather doesn't deter people from doing whatever they want to do. And I think
mhm.
I eventually adopted that attitude.
And that's why there are people all over the world in different climate, and they adjust and dress appropriately. Now moving away and leaving your family behind, how was that for you in terms of adapting to your new environment besides the weather?
Yeah. Well, there was constant contact via the telephone. At first, I think I was too excited. I'm on my own. Yay, yay, yay. I would,
Yeah,
I would say to my mom, I want my own house with my own bookshelves because I'm a bookworm.
me
And
too.
I did get that, right? But eventually, once I settled in, I realized, okay, I'm running the show on my own. I actually wrote them a letter once. And I said, thank you so much for all you did for me because I now understand it's not that easy. Running a family and everything moves smoothly.
Mhm.
And then, of course, now and then you have some trials and tribulations. But my dad passed away 2 years after I left, which I did not expect. And so that there were cascading events that came out of that. That
Mhm.
eventually, between my sister and I, we were returning home almost every year to look after my mom. And then she passed in 2017.
I'm
So
sorry.
there were a few adjustments that I had to make,
Mhm.
and a little bit of growing up some more that I hadn't. It's not easy to have a parent who is not doing well, and you're
Yes.
living thousands of miles away from them.
Yes, and as we grow older and our parents start aging and needing more attention, medical attention, their health starts to decline. And
Mhm.
so it is an important part of the stage that we're in. Thankfully, I have my mother still here. Dad passed in 2010. And so we still enjoy all the delicious food that she cooks, and she pampers us with our favorites, and we so appreciate her and love her for that. So I couldn't imagine that transition at all. And I have helped many people with that process with my own work, helping others through trauma crisis and life transition. But yet when it hits home, it's a very different thing. You
Absolutely.
can never be too prepared. Take care of so many things that need to be dealt with after the fact as well. So with all these changes and having this wonderful job in training, and when did Toastmaster come into play? Because this is a big piece of what you do, how you express yourself, and language is so important, and you do that so well. Share a little bit about Toastmaster, and then why. Well, talk about Toastmaster first, and what experiences that gave you, because I always think that Toastmaster is a wonderful experience for anyone that wants to break out of that shell, that needs to prepare better for work, or even for a toast at a wedding. It can be that simple or that complex, or you're launching a book and you want to practice your presentation, or the line of business that we're in, that we coach and we do other things. Sometimes we need to prepare for launching our different programs as well. So please share with the audience that.
I was fortunate that I started Toastmasters before I came to Canada. So
Okay, wow,
I was in
yes.
the at that time it was the only club in Guyana. It had been started, if I'm not mistaken, in 1949. So I was in it in the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
So I had every position except that of membership. So I was president on two occasions. I was the secretary, the treasurer, the sergeant at arms. I was in it, for 13 years. So I had enough time to be almost everything. But every single role helped to enrich my
It
life.
does.
You see, you learn, first of all, part of our pledge that we used to say every Monday evening was to build open, friendly relationships.
Mhm.
Because you will get people from all walks of life. And you have to learn how to get along with people. And one of the things that we did that I did not experience in the club the club that I joined here, was we took that statement, open, friendly relationships, to the extreme.
Mm.
So we would do things outside of the club. We would celebrate
Oh,
birthdays. We would have what we call a bush cook. So you go out into the bush and you cook out in nature, right? We would go to each other's homes. One of the activities that was most memorable was I helped organize, along with other members, a surprise party for one of our dearest members. He was the person in charge of membership in that year. He was going to celebrate his 50th birthday.
wow.
And so we, got behind the scenes, and we had a party for him, and he passed away 6 months later.
Oh, wow. And that was a milestone at that, the 50th
Yes.
birthday. And
He was such a
well,
wonderful person, and very selfless. And we thought we need to honor him. We didn't know that this was going to happen,
of
right?
course.
We needed to honor him and let him know how much we appreciated him. And then it turned out that he didn't make it 6 months later. So those, there's when I get together with the former members now, there's a lot of reminiscing. We have a lot of things to laugh about, a lot of things to say, do you remember when this happened? Might have been a challenging situation, but with everything, you learn how to conduct yourself, no matter
Yes.
what the situation
And
is.
what I appreciate about Toastmasters, it's international. There are there are gatherings everywhere in different cities and towns, so it's something to really look forward to. I joined it for some time to practice something I wanted to put out there, and it was the most wonderful experience. I made wonderful friends also, and we just had fun. It was scary some days standing up there, and you had your prompt and you had prepared for it, but it's a wonderful experience to develop your speaking skills and to be able to express yourself clearly and effectively, and to reach people with whatever message you have and any tone of message as well. So thank you so much for sharing about Toastmaster. I'm a great promoter of Toastmaster and a fan of the work that they do. Now, let's switch gears a little bit here and let's start talking about image consulting. But first, I want to know, with that wonderful career you had in training, why have you taken this direction in your life, and precisely at this time? Because you mentioned you review each decade and then you decide any changes, any development you're going to do for yourself and your life. Why now become an image consultant and a life coach?
So I crossed the threshold of my fifth decade,
And you look
and I'm
great.
and I'm thinking ahead. So what do I want to do? So I look at the first part of my life as the part that in which I conformed. So I did what I was supposed to do. I did what my parents expected of me. I did what
Mhm.
part of what society expected of me. And I was okay with that. But then there came the point where, I asked the question again, is there more to life than this?
Mhm.
And I had been looking at this program at George Brown since 2012, because
Oh,
I keep
wow.
a journal, right? I was going back through my journals, and every now and then, apparently I'd go to the website, look at when the course was going to be offered, write down the dates, and I went as far back as 2012.
Oh my goodness. So this was in your blood.
Yes, because when I read what it was about, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I'm a bit of a course junkie. Anything that helps to, elevate me, I will go
Of
for
course.
once I can. But it was always inconvenient.
Mm.
The time was always inconvenient. I couldn't make it. And then when I could make it, COVID came.
Mm-hmm.
So I had finished some of the courses, but then there were a few that were left that I had to eventually finish after they turned the course into an online course because it was an in-person course.
Oh.
I mean, you have to kind of be in person if you're going to be demonstrating how to do a color analysis and using all the flags and all that.
Oh, that must be so exciting.
We've had to, absolutely. We've had to pivot, no question, and start to do the analysis online, which has worked out as well. So I don't think, you miss that intimate contact, but you still get the same end result.
Mhm.
So I took the plunge and I said, you know what? There's going to come a day when I'm going to retire from the formal work life, but
Mhm.
I'm not retiring from life totally, because then it's going to be like the airplane on the runway. Yeah, that's going to be 100% my time. But I thought long and hard about something I wanted to do that would make my heart sing. That was the criteria. It had to make my heart sing. And I must say, I'm there. I'm not only there with the image consulting, I'm there in other aspects of my life, because I discovered things I didn't even realize I could do. I discovered that I can do abstract paintings using alcohol inks.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 3, 4 years ago, first of all, I would not have known what are alcohol inks. And two, you say, oh, you're going to become an abstract painter. And like, no, 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 no. But that's been a really exciting discovery, to the point where I have been able to put my designs up online and get, all kinds of items made, like a top or a cup or a journal.
Oh, wow. That's you are multi-passionate for sure. Are the pieces behind you, the pairs, something that you created?
Yes, so that was a desire to challenge myself, that I could do acrylic painting. And I found people online on YouTube and just followed what they did.
Yeah, and it's so much fun, but those are wonderful pieces. I love the shadow work in that. That's difficult to get the shadows right.
So let's say I was well taught by whoever I was following.
I love it. So, well, later on, we'll be posting in the comments information so that people can see your work and also connect with you. So we'll be mentioning that for sure. Now, image consulting. What is it actually? What does it constitute? Colors, it sounds like colors probably, and what matches and doesn't match. Could you explain image consulting? It's for sure it's an exciting field, and I can see how you love it so much.
Absolutely. So there are two aspects of it. One, we determine what are your best colors.
Okay.
Because there are lots of colors that are available for anybody to wear, but not every color looks good on every person.
Mhm.
There's some colors that bring out the best in you. They highlight your eyes, they highlight your complexion or the color of your hair. And there's some that make you look washed out, kind of
Mhm.
pale and withdrawn. So what I do is the color palettes they go according to the seasons. So it's winter, spring, autumn, and summer. And then within those, you have what are called flows. So somebody could be a mix between spring and summer, or a mix between autumn and winter.
Okay.
So whereas I can determine, first I look at, do you have a warm undertone or a cool undertone? And then if you have a cool undertone, then I will look at, are you a winter or a summer?
Can
If you
you
have
tell with my own right now, for instance? Or would
so
you Does that take time, or I just want the audience to get a feel for the process, maybe?
Yeah. So for you, it's hard to tell because one, you have lighting on you and you have makeup on.
Right.
So when I work with someone, they have, especially, okay, if we're doing it virtually or even in person, you have to come totally void of makeup.
Oh, okay.
We have to have lighting that doesn't compete with your skin tone. And if
Okay.
your hair is dyed, I will have that hair covered.
Oh,
So,
wow, really?
and your garment, whatever you're wearing, it's going to be covered. It's all going to be in white. So there's nothing competing, because if you have on a bright color, it can give you a glow that might
Okay,
an analysis
interesting.
that's not oh, that's not her color. But because of the things that were competing at the time, right?
Mhm.
So you might look very pretty when you're doing the analysis, but I need you to be as plain as you can,
Mhm.
so that nothing else influences what I come up with. So for
Okay.
example, I am a winter, but I am a deep winter. So there are colors that I could possibly wear in the true winter palette, but my truest colors, my wow colors, are in the deep palette.
Okay. The
And we,
royal tones,
yes, so I can get away with a deep fuchsia like I'm
it's
wearing right now.
beautiful, yes. Uh-huh.
Thank you. Whereas the summer colors, I wouldn't touch them because they're extremely pale and I look washed out.
Okay.
Yeah. And
S-
it also goes with your eye pattern and the more the eye pattern, not necessarily only the color of the eye.
Oh, so if it's summer and you're not going to wear perhaps a gem tone, which is what you're, if you use those deep colors, would accessories be used to kind of like increase the impact, because
Oh,
so that it
absolutely.
won't, no?
I'm going to give you a tip. This is for
Okay.
we take into consideration the shape of your face.
Oh.
So a face can be round, oblong, oval, um, pear shaped. Okay. And what we do, the trick to create harmony, is that you try to mirror that shape in other aspects of what you're wearing.
No
So,
kidding.
for example, in jewelry, I have an oval shaped face. So I could, if I had a pendant, I can look for a pendant that's oval shaped. So that mirroring of the shape of my face into that pendant is going to create more harmony. So I didn't know this a few years ago when I went to a fashion outlet a little way away from my home, and I saw this beautiful silver piece of jewelry, but it was square. And at the time, I didn't know. I brought it home. Not only was it square, it was kind of chunky. And no matter when I put it on, it didn't settle well with me. So I subsequently found out I needed a pendant that was oval shaped, and I needed a pendant that wasn't so chunky because of my frame. So we take
Yes.
proportion and scale into consideration.
Mm.
So a person like me, I'm of a finer frame. Heavy jewelry weighs me down.
Mhm. Yes.
So now I look at that. I looked at it even last week, and I thought I'm gonna look around, see if I can gift this to somebody who has a square face. It's very beautiful, but it's just not me.
But that's fascinating, because then there's geometry involved in it,
Yeah.
all these shapes and forms and colors, and the textures, I would imagine. Do the textures come into play as well
Yes.
into image consulting?
Yes. So your bone structure, we take that into consideration. We
Mhm.
take it into consideration if your hair, your complexion is smooth, translucent, if your hair is smooth, versus if you have very thick curly hair.
Mm.
That will govern what we suggest that you wear. So you might get away with coarser fabrics if you have what we call a rough texture. And it
Oh.
has to do with the hair. No, I know people might be deterred by the word rough, but that's how it's in how it's explained. Yeah.
So So when you're assessing someone, if they have normally that they're naturally curly hair, but that day they flat ironed it,
Mhm.
how do you know then? Or is that a question that you ask? Does that come into play? In my case, for instance, I do have naturally curly hair. I might flat iron it. I might do different things with it. So is the texture of the hair important? So important? Well, how important is it actually?
It is very important. So I will ask you, especially now that we're doing things virtually, I'll
Mhm.
ask you to give me a picture of yourself as a child when your hair was
Oh,
natural.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Oh,
right now everybody's coloring their hair.
yes, yes.
So it matters, right? I just worked with a client and I had her send me, she gave me pictures of herself when she was a teen so I can see her natural hair color.
Oh,
Right now
okay.
it's different, right?
Mhm.
So when I say we get you at your plainest and your most natural, that's what we want. When we're done with you, then you can, put on your makeup and we'll give you tips on the color that will suit your palette that you could dye your hair.
And that's interesting. I didn't start coloring my hair until I was in my 40s, maybe, because my
Mhm,
hair was naturally very dark and almost black brown.
mhm.
But then later in my 40s is when I started to kind of like touch it up. And I experimented once with highlights, once or twice, etc. Now I use just a solid color usually. Highlights are nice, but I do notice how it affects the color choices for clothing.
Yeah.
When I have highlights versus my hair's darker, this one has red hues in it, obviously, dark red hues in it, but it's not black, and it's not dark brown either.
Yeah.
So I go back and forth into different shades of it, sometimes lighter or darker. But I realize what you're saying, it does affect the color choices for clothes, and sometimes something just doesn't work at all. And the chunkiness. I'm tall. I'm about 5'6", 5'7". I mean, that's somewhat tall, I guess, and I'm of a heavier frame. But so I can see how I can choose larger pieces and I can carry them, but I
Mhm.
also like more um, smaller pieces, lighter pieces as well. So it depends on my mood too. Well, what about mood? How does that come into play with the consulting aspect of
So
image?
we will look at, or I will look at, what is your personality type?
Mm,
'Cause it doesn't matter what mood you're in, you tend to have the same type of personality.
okay.
You're either someone who has a classic style, an aristocratic style, a dramatic style. I think of, I don't know if you know the actor Billy Porter.
No.
Went to one of I think it was an Oscar ceremony, and he had this hat on that was like an, a slanted L. It had a brim that was straight, and then it took off like that at an angle.
Oh, yes.
So Billy would be considered someone who is dramatic in his personality style. So Billy could wake up really grumpy one morning. It doesn't matter. His style is dramatic.
I
He
see.
cannot be a natural. So natural styles are people who are like their clothes fit loosely and they're pretty casual all the time. That doesn't seem to be a Billy Porter to me.
I see. Of course
So it
not.
doesn't matter the mood, your personality style would tend to be fairly uniformed, and you will gravitate to certain types of garments naturally. Like I'm pretty classic, but it doesn't mean that I can't, lounge around the house in a pair of yoga pants. But when I'm ready to go out, I am not wearing yoga pants. You will never see me in sweatpants
Right.
anywhere.
Me neither. Me neither. I hear you. Yeah, and I can see that for myself. I usually buy clothes that are more classic and cut. I will buy something trendy once in a while to try it out, but I'll always revert back to the classic pieces. I'll match them up, a sweater, with a shell underneath, etc. And if I'm wearing suits before COVID, I would wear lots of suits for the different things that I would be out there doing, and even the suits, they could be classic, but then I'll try and pair it up with a little bit edgier jewelry, maybe, or something different. And so, and I find that dressing a classic style, it really never goes out of style, and it's so much easier to mix and match pieces. Could you speak to that about mixing and matching pieces? And it's not easy for everyone to do that. They may miss the mark in terms of matching things. How far is too far?
You know what? It depends on you. So I want to stress something very important. I will work with you as you are. There are people who would say, I'm going to come to you, but I want to lose some weight first.
Oh,
That's not how it works. I will take your body shape as it is now, because one of the things I want to help women to understand is you are beautiful just as you are in that moment. I think a lot, I'm not going to bash the industries that deal with weight loss or anything, they have their rule. But I think the more you spend time looking at your body and saying, I don't like this, I don't like this, all your cells are hearing is, I don't like, I'm not happy, I'm dissatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a child and you kept saying to that child all day long, I don't like you, I think you're awful, I don't, I hate the way you look when you do this. So, and I hate the way you look when you do that. That child is not going to thrive. But that's what we do to our bodies every day.
Yes, we do.
We look in the mirror and instead of saying, hey, honey, how are you? We say, oh my goodness. Oh, that's a wrinkle. Oh,
Yeah.
things are sagging.
A sunspot,
Oh,
or
all that macaroni and cheese I ate yesterday went straight to
ooh,
my hips. Those
rice
are
and
not,
beans.
they're not complimentary, and your body hears you. Sorry to say that, your body hears you. So my job is to help you begin to appreciate where you are now. If 6 months from now you choose to change, the rudiments of what I will help you to learn will still be applicable.
That's a great point, because
Yeah.
I can imagine people wanting to lose weight to think that they're going to feel better about themselves, but it really starts with yourself. and
Absolutely.
and self mastery with your emotions, your belief systems,
Yes.
that they align with your values, and talk a little bit about that, because I know you address those things as well, those topics in your work.
Yes. So I want to also add the I'll be happy when keeps you, it's like the carrot is always in front of you, but you never quite get to touch it. So what I want to do, which I know sets me apart because of the unique modalities that I'm bringing to my image consulting, that's why the program is called Total Radiant You.
And I love that. Yes.
Thank you. I want you to just not glow on the outside, but to feel whole on the inside. So as you said, I'll address emotions. Are you a perpetually angry person? Is there a river of rage running below the surface that
Mhm.
comes out the minute your buttons are triggered? Are you a person who generally is sad? Is a river of sadness running beneath the surface? Are you a person who's timid? Do you not truly believe in your worth? So one of the things is helping you to find your voice, to be able to present yourself in public. But beneath all of that, we have to clear up all the things that are keeping you stuck. looking at your self-acceptance, your power to be forgiving. A lot of
Mhm.
us have had things done to us in our lives that we might not have let go yet. And
Yes.
it's never too late. Don't say, well, I've lived for the last 60 years, so I suppose, I didn't let it go before, so I guess I'll take it to my grave. Worth more than that. So when I say total radiant you, it's inner radiance and outer radiance.
And when you find that balance and that self-acceptance, and that you start feeling worthy and that you're enough,
Yeah,
you start experiencing that radiance, and it shows. And people do observe that when one is
absolutely.
happy, when one feels well,
Mhm.
also. Um, and mentioning wellness, uh, have you worked with people who have illnesses, whose demeanor and their image has slowly deteriorated because of the illness?
So where illness is concerned, I tread very carefully because I'm not a medical person.
Hmm.
I part of the program I have is eating for vitality. And one of
Oh,
the things I
wonderful.
want to address in that portion of the program is what are the emotions that you take with you to the dining table? Because that affects every process in your body from your digestion to your elimination.
It does.
So I'm not going to address the actual illness itself, but generally I want to know how you feel about you, again, translates into how your body functions. Are you humming along at optimum capacity, or is there something that you can address? Holding spite. Do you hold spite? Do you hold resentment? Do you hold
Hmm.
grudges? And I listen very carefully to how people speak because I've been able to detect from in recent months somebody who feels everybody's trying to take things away from me. That is
Hmm.
not going to go unnoticed in your body
Of
because
course.
you're looking out and thinking, it's so unfair. How are they getting that and I'm not getting this? And it's constant 24 hours running through your thoughts because our thoughts are very powerful
They
and
are.
they produce after their own kind.
So I can see how you truly set yourself apart with your image consulting business, just incorporating these very important elements, the emotions, and identifying them and coming to terms with them and working through them. And as a life coach, I would imagine that's where that skill set comes into play as well. And then
Yeah.
the nutritional aspect of it, and we know that we are what we eat, as they say. And
Yes.
so your moods can vary depending on the types of foods that you're eating. You can feel sluggish, even you can feel slower, or have a quicker step even, when you're eating the right foods for your body, and the needs and the activities that you're taking on a daily basis. So that's a wonderful idea. I always thought that image consultants only looked at colors and clothes and maybe hairstyle, etc. But I love the way that you perceive it, and the way that you execute your work is fascinating. And I'm sure everyone who's listening will feel the same way, because who doesn't want to look good and feel good? And it comes together. So now, with the services that you provide, why don't you share a little bit more about your actual services? And I believe you've also provide add-ons instead of doing a basic image consulting session, and explain that a little bit so that people know what they have an opportunity to engage with you for, and what it is you're looking to do with the add-ons.
So the part of the self-acceptance portion of the program
Mm.
is doing a process that's called quantum change process. It's a
Oh.
forgiveness process, and I work with the acupressure points on the body.
Oh my.
So it's a session, it usually takes, it probably take a lot less time, because when we used to work in person, it took about 3 hours. The time would go by really, really quickly. But it was an opportunity for the person to not to regurgitate stories, but to
Mhm.
simply say, I forgive so and so for you made me feel. And then I would work with the eyes and the acupressure points, specific acupressure points along the body, to get to the subconscious. So we take out all that has been keeping them from moving forward. So that process has two steps to it. Once you do level one, you don't have to do that again, but you can do level two. For example, if you're facing a certain situation and you're feeling a certain way about it, then I can work with you on that situation only. I don't have to go back and clear, what dad did, mom did, cookie down the road. I don't have to do that more than once. So that's one of the add-ons, the forgiveness process. I also do soul genesis readings. So this is tapping into the Akashic records to get a glimpse into what's working for you on a celestial plane. What, and this is not for the faint of heart. So if this is not
Not
your,
at all. And I was just going to ask you
quite
before
an
you
add-on.
continue, explain what the Akashic records are, because some people may not be familiar with that.
Yes. So the Akashic records are, it's like your book of life that records everything that has influenced your life and will influence your life. So, for example, one of the areas that I look at is your transition gateway. What are you moving into? Because some people find themselves at a crossroad and they don't know how to move forward, or they don't want to make a decision because they think, if I go left, I'm going to miss out on what's in right, but if right,
Mhm.
I don't know. And so they're in a position of indecision. So then I can determine what is the transition that you're working through, so that then you begin to get more aware of where you stand. And sometimes the clients would say, oh, that makes sense. No wonder. They're provided with information that they can use to help them move forward. And then I look at who's helping you on this earthly plane, because we do have celestial helpers. Do you have any helpers in the major areas of your life? Your fun and friendship, your career, your health, your finances. Sometimes you don't have any helpers. And then when I get the story, I hear, oh, I'm really struggling financially, or my career is not going anywhere. Everybody else keeps getting promoted and not me. So the total premise of it all is to clear away, and I use prayer to clear away all the cooties. Everything that's
Got to
keeping
get
you,
them cooties out.
absolutely, if it's keeping you back, we are going to clear them through prayer.
But I do believe that prayer is so, so powerful. But knowing how to pray is important too.
Yeah.
And how you do it, and the intention behind it makes it so particular.
Intention, absolutely important. Yeah.
So that is, oh my goodness, a mouthful. The training experience that you have, Marcia, having been through all the positions in Toastmaster, which gives you most definitely uh, um, a grip on leadership and exercising different roles and learning to work with different types of people. Just training alone, being in a room training others, you have all these different learners at different levels. The one that you give information to and they run with it, they're able to apply it immediately. And then that other group that you still have to answer some questions, but they can pretty much figure it out. And then that group that have no clue whatsoever. And being able to juggle all those people in a room. What's the largest you've trained for a group? Because you did a lot of corporate training.
Yes. I've done well, my training had to do with computers and showing people how to use
Oh,
them.
wow.
So I could only have as many people as there were computers.
Right.
Prior to
Okay.
that, like, when I worked in the Toastmaster groups, sometimes we would have anywhere from 40 to 60 people.
Okay. How
The larger the
wonderful.
group was a little more difficult because when you're
Mhm.
doing presentations, you have to listen to people, you have to critique
Of
them
course.
constructively. So it takes time. I'm very partial to smaller groups because I like the intimate
Oh, yes.
when I can, get close to the person and work with them. So,
And this magic
um,
comes up, it just
yes,
comes up out of the whole process, which I love too. I've worked with very large groups, but the smaller group definitely is my favorite as well. Now, with the type of work that you do with the image consulting, it's so in depth,
yeah,
from assessing the skin color and the actual skin color, and the hair, and I would imagine the color of the eyes come into play as well, the texture of the hair, like you expressed, and the size of the person, the build.
yeah.
It's so many factors, and on top of that, working with emotions. On top of that, working with their historical records of
Mhm.
existence through the Akashic records. And also, it's just a wonderful package of offerings that you have right there. Now, can you do that with a group setting, or is it more geared towards a one-on-one kind of intervention?
So it's actually both. Excuse me.
Okay.
If you wanted just a color and style analysis, of course, that can be done one-on-one. If you
Okay.
wanted a whole package and there is a group, of course, I can't have a very large group, but there is a group that we know exactly which of the add-ons or aspects of the program they want to work with. And it doesn't matter if everybody's not on the same page, then I can do the main work together, and then I'll take, individuals to do the add-ons.
How wonderful. And I'm just thinking about groups like wedding parties, bridesmaids, and
Yes,
that would be a
yes,
lovely thing to do together, friends,
yes.
of course, doing things together. And
Like
do you
that
work with
that
men as
day,
well? Do you work with men? That's a good
I
question.
have it is. I have been focusing exclusively on women.
Okay.
I intend to bring guys into the fold, but not right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Obi. I just wanted to add that because there might be a gentleman that's listening, that might be interested in your services.
Yeah.
Now, what are your superpowers? You do all these things, like you're adventurous. You moved all by yourself without your family to Canada, and and here you are with your new business, and just it's one adventure after another. And a lot of people, when they become entrepreneurs, they have all these fears and anxieties around that. But when you look at it from an adventurous perspective, it becomes so doable. It's scary, yes, but it comes doable. So what of your superpowers have helped you, and what do you think is the gift that you give with your superpowers?
So you just mentioned one. I have a deep sense of adventure. I will do if my heart says, I wonder what that will be like, and it's not dangerous and I'm not going to lose my life, I will do it at least once. After that, I will make an assessment. Oh, that was wonderful, or oh, hell no, I will never do that again. So there have been a few
At
of
least
those,
you
but
tried.
at least I tried. I have the experience of what it is. And I'm intensely curious. I want to know what's next. How is that done? How does that work? Or what makes that do, how does that function? Even when it comes to my own health, I'm always researching stuff, and I think because the universe knows that I'm curious, I would suddenly be led to a particular book, or I might hear somebody say
Mhm.
something, and then I look there and I will find the information I need, but then after a while, I can't tell you how I got
The answers come to us through people,
there.
places, and things, and I do believe that. Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
how I move through the world.
And I can see that it is so effective. I'm excited for your business. I'm excited for the work that you do, and to hopefully at some point engage with you and you do your magic and use them superpowers that you have of curiosity and of learning, because you keep adding tools to your toolkit, which
Yeah.
is wonderful. And that's why it's so rich, the services that you offer, because it's not a cookie cutter image consulting business at all. It is so holistic and so heart-centered in that respect, because you care enough about the inside so that the outside can also be amazing for whomever it may be. Now, uh, at this point, and I could ask you so many more questions, but we're reaching the end, and I'd like for you to share information about a free service you would like to offer the audience and how they can connect with you.
So if you go to my website, which is actually under construction, but it's set up for anybody to get the freebie. It's marciaedaly.ca. And I know that you're going to put it in the comments,
Yes, I
right?
will, in the comments below.
There is a video, it's about 2 to 2.5 minutes long. And then on the right side, you can enter your name and email information to download 5 hot tips to make you stand out virtually.
All right, I like that.
We're doing all this Zooming and Microsoft Teams
Absolutely.
and sometimes we really need that edge to stand out.
I appreciate that. It's a great offering, because right now everyone and anyone can use it, even when on Zoom with family members. Why not? Why not look your best and stand out? Now, final words of wisdom regarding image and success, Marcia.
I'd like to plant a seed in the mind or the minds of those listening to us. It's not hard. I take the guesswork out of how you dress, because I know there are people who say, I can't put two things together and I tend to wear the same things over and over. But when you get to learn what are your true wow colors, how to enhance that shape that you have, whether it's an hourglass or a rectangle or a pear shape, then the guesswork is taken away. And I will help you to create a wardrobe that when you open that door, everything in there you want.
Oh, that's
There's
wonderful.
nothing in there that you'll say, oh my, when you clothes have energy. And when you look at them,
Hmm.
you feel something. If it's a
Yes.
piece that you're holding on to because you want to get back into it because you used to like it, but it's been 10 years since you haven't worn it,
Mhm.
or something that you bought because it looked good on the hanger. I've had moments like those, through confession. It was beautiful on the hanger, but it doesn't do much for me when I bring it home. So the first thing is getting you to like how you look, and then getting you to not only like your exterior, but get your interior humming along so beautifully that it becomes effortless. And everywhere you go, people are going to be asking you, what have you done? Did you get a new guy? Did you get a promotion? Have you changed your job? What did you do with your hair? All you did was get harmony in the way that you look.
That's wonderful. I love that. And thank you so much, my special guest, an extraordinary woman of guts and grace for sure, very adventurous, Marcia Daly, an image consultant and life coach that you need to check out, because I'm sure she'll do wonders for you from the inside out. How amazing is that? who doesn't want that in their own lives? So I definitely recommend Marcia Daly and her image consulting business. And she's a life coach as well. So she's quite qualified to do the work that we've been discussing today, which I'm sure you're excited about. And please check out the comments for the information to contact her and reach out for that free gift that she's offering, those 5 wonderful tips on how to stand out online. Now, as I always sign off, much self-love, much compassion for yourself and benevolence. You deserve it. I deserve it. Marcia deserves it. And everyone around us deserves that compassion and benevolence as well. Keep the peace, everyone. It's so important. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, Marcia. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.